Hey everyone, welcome back. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. It's Sunday night, so what do? We talk about Bitcoin versus miners this past week. We'll also take a look at the Bitcoin miners' latest short info that we have on them. That came out, I think actually came out today for the end of March 31st. So we have that data. The shorts are actually relentless here. They're actually increasing the shorts on a lot of these guys here. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Bitcoin's price action over the weekend here. Also take a look at about some of the tariffs being exempted, and then they're kind of walking that back a little bit on the electronics and things like that. And then we'll get into Q&A. Should be pretty short and sweet and easy, as always. You guys know the drill. Not financial advice for Tim only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and it costs you nothing to do that. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin right now over the weekend, basically. Where's my screen? There it is. So Bitcoin was up about 2%, something like that on Saturday. We're down 2% roughly today. We're basically broke even on it right now as it is. We are battling with the, what is this line here? I think it's the 50 simple moving day average, which is the red line here. You can see that right there. We're battling with that. If we can get above that and then get above the 200 simple day moving average, I think that would be good for Bitcoin, and that would be right around 87,500 or so. So maybe this week we will get that. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how this all is going to play out this week. Miners recovered on Friday already, so I'm not going to get into the miners because we talked about them. They were all in the green, which was good. We'll talk about how the miners did against Bitcoin here in a second as well for the past week. Some of the miners actually did better than Bitcoin. But yeah, we'll take a look at all that. Bitcoin right now for the month of April is still up a little bit here. We're up 1.26% as it is right now. And then Bitcoin currently still has a sizable dominance there, 62.71% of the crypto market. It's come down a little bit here, but not much, but it's still definitely increasing over time here. Going back here, let's take a look at some of the stories that we do have here that I wanted to really cover with you guys quickly, not to get into them too deep on it. One is from Seth Golden, sentiment trader. He quotes, "Last week was the fourth most volatile week in 60 years. ATR measures each day's range, divides it by the closing price, and averages it out over a given number of days. The 5-day average for SPX spiked above 6% only for the fourth time since 1962. All marked bottoms," right? So we might have bottomed out in the markets here. We'll see if we bottom out also on Bitcoin here. But you can see here we had Black Monday on the chart here back in 1998, I believe it was, 1999, one of those years. We saw that huge spike there. We saw global financial crisis in 2008 as well, huge spike, above 6%. COVID, we saw a huge spike as well on it. And then the trade war here is at 6%. So we're getting close, I think. If we don't spike even further, we're probably close at the bottom right now as it is. All right, so there's that. And then finally here, really quick news on it. You guys might have heard over the weekend here that the United States had put in some exemptions for smartphones, chips, computers, chip manufacturing equipment, things like that for, well, we thought it was going to be until all this stuff gets worked out. But now, right now, Commerce Secretary Lutnick walks back the tariff relief on the electronics. So the Trump administration continues to flip-flop on tariff policy, casting a cloud of constant macroeconomic uncertainty over the markets. And that's never a good thing. Markets want uncertainty. When you have uncertainty, things are not good. But here's what he had to say. So Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick walked back the recent reciprocal tariff exemptions on select electronics announced on April 12th, which was yesterday. Bulletin from the United States Customs and Border Protection. On April 13th, Lutnick told ABC News that the reciprocal tariff exemption was temporary until the administration established a sector tariff regime for semiconductor products, which includes phones, graphics processors, and computing chips, in a month or two, Lutnick added. So this is only for a couple months, right? A month or two. Here's a quote from Lutnick. "President Trump has called out pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and autos. He called them sector tariffs, and those are not available for negotiation. They are just going to be part of making sure we ensure core national security items are made in this country." I mean, autos, I would say probably 70-80% of the parts are made in the United States anyways as it is. Some things are made in Canada and Mexico, but they bounce back and forth between the two countries or three countries. I don't see that as a big worry. Semiconductors, yeah, I see that as a big worry. Pharmaceuticals as well. So I kind of agree there, but you got to make it a little bit more palatable, I think, for business to bring that stuff in to do it here. You can't just do it overnight. It's going to take years. So, it's going to be harsh here for our next couple of years, possibly, unless we get these tariffs worked out. Here's another quote. We can't be relying on China for fundamental things we need. Our medicines and our semiconductors need to be built in America. And it continued. The official also said he was confident that the United States and China would arrive at a trade deal through negotiations. So, that's also what I'm hoping for here, that they do negotiate something out of all of this and get something that's maybe a little bit more fair. But in the long run, we need certainty, which right now we do not have. The emphasis on national security and onshoring critical industries could signal that the trade tariffs will be a long-term geostrategic policy and not simply a short-term negotiation tactic to make U.S. exports more attractive, as some analysts have suggested. So something to keep in mind there. All right, but let's get into the shorts on the miners here. Like I said, this is the latest data that I have on these guys here as of the end of March 31st here. So we look at the number of current shares shorted. Marathon has the most number of shares shorted, 93 million, followed by Cleanspark, about 89 million, Riot at 86 million, Bitfarms at 57, CORZ at 43 million, Cypher at 36, IREN at 28, BitTier at 21, almost 22 there, HUD 8 at 11.5 roughly, and Hive at 10. So Hive has the least amount shares shorted. Percentage of average floated short though, you can see things look a little bit differently. Cleanspark is now at 32.81% shares shorted. I mean, now you're getting into that crazy short territory where it makes it a lot easier to do a, what do they call that? Where you shorts have to cover and things like that. God, what is that term? I'm drawing blank on it right now. You guys know what I'm talking about, though. It'll come to me in a second here. Marathon second at 27.75%, followed by Riot at 26.63%, 25.47% for BitTier. CORZ at 16, almost 17% there. Bitfarms at 16.2, Cypher at 14.2, IREN at almost 14 there, I guess. HUD 8 at 12.39, and Hive only at 6.58. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out long term. I mean, right now we've been kind of seeing how it plays out over the last year, where the miners have been getting shorted more and more and more as time goes on. But eventually, I think the shorts will get liquidated potentially, because if things start going back up in price for Bitcoin, other markets as well, I think the shorts will have to cover. We might have a short squeeze. That's what I was looking for. Short squeeze on these guys, especially when we get into like 30% plus. So that's usually a good territory where shorts can get wrecked relatively quickly, but we'll see. Okay, we'll see if that happens here in the next couple months. I'm hoping that it does, especially when Bitcoin goes up to 150,000, 200,000, whatever it might be by the end of the year. Here's the share shorted value versus market cap. You can see that on all these guys. I'm not going to go through it here. You guys can definitely check that out. Pause the video, whatever you want to do. And then number of shares shorted changed from last time. So Cleanspark had the most increase here. 8.6 million shares added to the short. IREN almost 8.5. Cypher almost 8 there. Riot about 7.5. Core 4.69. BitTier 3.16. Bitfarms 1 million. Marathon only 0.72 million here. HUD 8.48. So I mean, they're still going after Cleanspark a lot. I think the reason that is because if you look at it here, Cleanspark has gone down the least over the last 12 weeks. Cleanspark's only down 35%, Marathon's down 37%, Riot 47%, Bitfarms 51%, Hive down 52%, HUD 8 down 53%, Core down almost 56% there, IREN was down 58%, Cypher down 59%, and BitTier down 61%. And then if we look at how much, BitTier's still getting quite a bit short there. But as far as number of increase of shares, yeah, kind of low, not too bad. Kind of towards the lower end of things. All right, percent change in shares shorted from last review. IREN had the most increase here, 41%. And the number of shares added to their short position here, Cypher 28%, BitTier 16%, Core 12%, Cleanspark only 10%, Riot 9.3%, HUD 4.3%, Bitfarms 1.8%, Marathon only 0.77%, and Hive barely anything, 0.34%. So definitely interesting the way that's still playing out, where the shorts are still really going on miners and long Bitcoin and other things on top of it. But here's how things stack up for the miners as far as short interest has been going up on them over the last 12, actually probably not 12, roughly about 8 to 10 months ago. You can see BitTier continual increase there. Bitfarms had a huge spike here towards the middle of February, and then it's coming back down a little bit here. Cypher more or less kind of going back up here, right? New high here for them as far as being shorted. Cleanspark continuation into just new highs and new highs as time goes on, which is crazy to me. Core kind of flat here over the last, I would say, couple months at least. Sticking around right around the 40 million shares shorted there. And you got Hive here, has been increasing, getting new highs here also for them. Hut 8 was much higher back in November, September of last year, October, September range there. And it has come down here, but it is starting to increase back up a little bit here. IREN, right, we're seeing a continuation of just more and more shares being shorted on them over time. Marathon here has been high for quite a while, but it's been somewhere between the 80 and 90 range here, looks like, for the last couple months as well. And then you got finally Riot here, continuation just to increase more and more and more. Riot, the only thing I can think of why they're being shorted more is because pausing on Bitcoin mining expansion and going more into HPC AI business. I think that might be playing part into it. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of as far as what's going on there. Their operations have been improving, so I wouldn't think that would be a catalyst, but maybe it is. So there's the latest short data stats that we have on the miners here right now. Increases, yeah. I mean, the shorts are just relentless right now, but eventually I think they will get wrecked, or at least they will probably see brighter days and realize that it's no longer profitable maybe to short, especially as Bitcoin is going up in value. But we'll see. Right now, they're definitely making out on it. All right, next, let's take a look at the weekly here for the Bitcoin versus miners. We always look at the 52-week lows and where they are from the 52-week highs. Right now, we got strategy in top spot here. It's still outperforming Bitcoin's up 197%. Core is not too far behind that, 170%. Then you got Hut 8 at 75% here. Bitcoin's at 69.8, almost 70%. Right now from its 52-week lows. BitDeer then is below that, 52%. IREN at 35, Cypher at 30, Marathon 27, Bitfarms at 18, Hive at 17, Cleanspark at 16% only, and Riot at 13.5%. And then you can see how far away they are from their 52-week highs they have reached. So a lot of them are quite a ways away. Bitcoin's only 23% away from its 52-week high right now. Looking at the last 1 week, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and 12 weeks chart, this is for last week, how the miners did. I track it Friday to Friday for Bitcoin and for the miners as well. Cypher had a pretty good week. It was up 15%. Marathon was up 11%. Hut 8 was up 7%. Hive was up 6%. Bitfarms was up 4%. Cleanspark was up 2%. Strategy was up 2%. Bitcoin was actually down like 1%, less than 1% from Friday to Friday. BitDeer was down 1% along with Riot. And then Core was down 2%. And IREN was down 5%. So a lot of the miners did outperform Bitcoin here just a little bit at least. Some more than others, but more or less, we had more that were doing better. So that was kind of good. Going to 4 weeks here, at this point we can see Bitcoin's down 1% again from 4 weeks ago. And the only ones that have outperformed here is Cleanspark being up 1% and Marathon being up 1%. It's kind of interesting there. And everybody else underperformed Bitcoin except for strategy, kind of flat along the way with Bitcoin there at 1% roughly. On the 8 weeks chart, well, Bitcoin's down 13%. Strategy's basically flat, 0%. Right now, and then everybody else has underperformed here to Bitcoin. But the biggest loser here has been Cypher in the last 8 weeks, followed by IREN at 48% down, and then you got probably Hive 41%, Bitfarms 40%, BitDeer 39%, Hut 8%, and everybody else below that. Marathon's only down 15%, and Cleanspark's down 19%. So those guys are the closest to Bitcoin right now as it is. And the 12 weeks chart, well, things look a little bit more different here right now. Bitcoin's down 20%, Strategy's down 15%. Everybody else has underperformed Bitcoin here, with Cleanspark having the least losses, 35% down, Marathon down 37% as well, and then everybody else is like 50, 48, 60, 56% down. So it's been a rough start to the year for the miners. It was a rough year also last year for the miners after the halving event, which we kind of expected that. But it's definitely not what I expected here this year from the miners. I thought the miners and Bitcoin were going to be going up. But all the uncertainty in the markets, the tariffs, everything else that's playing into it, it's having an impact, unfortunately. But that is it. And we are seeing here a little bit more of a mixed week. Last week was for the miners. You can see here somewhere in the green, somewhere a little bit was in the red. But it's a little bit better than what we saw here the prior week. So almost, what has it been, 6 weeks, 7 weeks? Where it's been mostly red with some exceptions here, more or less. So we need some more green weeks on these guys going forward. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see how things progress. All right, as always, spreadsheets are available to the Patreon members. Thank you to all of them for all your continued support. Link for that is on the description if you want to join. It's a couple bucks a month for that. And you get access to all of these charts, graphs, stats, everything on the miners. And then you also get access to our private Discord server as well. Okay. That's it. That's my sales pitch. Let's get into Q&A here, see what you guys have to say. And we'll call it a day. It's going to be a pretty nice short one. We're only 15 minutes in. Pretty good. All right, let me go over here. Let me see where the questions are. As always, if you could preface the questions with a question mark or a Q, I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to work my way down just a little bit, see if we got any questions or comments. B82 says, yeah, short squeeze. Yep. Came back to me in my mind after a while. Let's see. Hi there, guys. Says, that's why I don't like convertible debt. It brings in structural shorts. Yes, it does. But, I mean, it brings it in, but it's not for a couple of years out. So that's why I kind of don't get it. Maybe you would want to lift things up right now, but I know that they're hedging their bets, so I get that. B82 says, Jimmy was shorted 100%. Greater than, yeah, when they squeezed. Key was having under 100 million shares. Miners diluting makes squeeze less likely. I don't know. I think at a certain point when you get above like 30%, 25%, something like that, you can get a short squeeze on those guys if Bitcoin runs up and things like that. But yeah, I mean, GME, you had naked shorts on there. It was more than 100%. It was just crazy the way it was being shorted. So I completely agree with you there. Let's see. Sourmelon says, miners will be shorted until the mining stock eventually leave the exchange. I've seen this game before many times. So you think they're going to force them to leave the exchange? Where would they go? Right now, most of these guys are on NASDAQ exchange. I don't think they're going to go anywhere because it's, easy money for them there. But we'll see. All right. Let's see. It's been painful being in these miners, but still here. Yeah, I'm still here. A lot of you guys are still here. I've seen a lot of people capitulate and get out of them. It's a tough sector to be in. It's a very, very niche sector that we cover, and it's a tough one. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Had you gone long Bitcoin and shorted miners as well as MicroStrategy as the big guys were doing, you'd be up quite a lot. Do you regret your simple long strategy? Do you ever consider hedging positions? Yeah, I mean, if I did that, I probably would have been up. Do I regret my long-term strategy of buy, hold, and dollar cost average in? Not yet. But that could change by the end of this year, right? If Bitcoin doesn't go back up to an all-time high, miners are still where they are, then, yeah, I may regret what I have done. At least learn from it. Okay, prior cycles are not indicative of future results. Well, that's kind of true here. Right, this cycle is completely different than it has been in the past. So we can see that already as it is. All right. Let's see. Love Guru says, I always get short squeeze trading fart coin. It's very volatile. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. All right. Question, is your BTC ticker live or delayed? Also, where do you get it from? The BTC ticker that's on here now is, I believe, live as it's happening. I get that from TradingView, along with the ticker on the bottom there. If you search up TradingView widgets, you'll be able to see these things pop up there. And you can customize them and do things like that, and that's kind of where I'm pulling it. So I'm actually running my own little server here that has this. It's a web page that I'm basically displaying on here that's pulling that widget into it, along with the tickers as well down below. So that's the way you would do that. The question is, MicroStrategy the best way to invest in BTC? In the past, I would say year and a half, it probably has been the best way. Bitcoin has rallied, MicroStrategy has overperformed the miners, and when Bitcoin falls, MicroStrategy has been falling less than the miners. Are the miners really worth it? Last cycle they were. Last cycle the miners have done a lot better than they have done this cycle so far, to date. We will see where they end up by the end of the year here, depending where Bitcoin ends up at. So historically, at least historically, miners have done last cycle. They did really, really good, right? Mara went from the bottom to the top like 70x, somewhere around there. IREN or Riot was at like 46, 50x, something like that also. So if you got in towards the bottom, you did pretty good. And MicroStrategy did good that time, but didn't do it quite as well as the miners did. So that was my thinking for this cycle as well. But things have changed. So are the miners really worth it? If they perform still, if I still get a 3x or a 5x out of the miners here, then I think it would be worth it. We'll see what MicroStrategy does from the bottom to the top, and what could have that been. So there's always ways to play it. Let's see, there's a question here. Will the tariffs on China slow the growth plans on miners? I don't think so. I think the miners were thinking that the cycle peak was going to be sometime in this year, and they prepared for that. You saw that with Cleanspark, IREN, Mara, even Riot as well, and others that got a lot of hash rate going into last year installed. And then this year, they're just kind of finalizing their plans. And then they were kind of putting a pause on things more or less to see where things go. But I think they were thinking that we're going to begin getting into a bear market next year. So a lot of the growth is already in there that we know of. We don't have any plans beyond that, at least right now, unless they actually provide that kind of information, which we haven't seen yet. So I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have. I also heard and read that Bitmain is going to be, producing the ASICs, the machines here in the United States as well to combat the tariffs and other things as well for better customer service, basically, which would be good. All right. Can't wait for the shorts to get squeezed. Me neither. Would love to see that play out. Sadie, as always, thank you so much. Likes definitely help the channel. All right, let's see. Ann says Toronto, my average price for Hive is over $7 Canadian. Okay, so you're looking at roughly, what, $6 USD. Wow, you got in a much higher price than right now. Dollar cost averaging if you can. I know Hive is what, like $1.48 right now? Yeah, $1.48. So could it get back up to that, to around $6? It would be basically, what, a 4x? Depending where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin goes to 200,000, I think, and get back to that level again, maybe surpass it even, especially as they grow and increase their hash rate to 25 exahash. Right, so there's a lot of good things that are happening here right now for Hive that you need to execute and get there like they said they're going to get. And as long as Bitcoin goes up, then I would think they would come back to those levels. All right, Fideli's question: capitulation and horrible sentiment is bullish. I read the comments on your videos and bought Cleanspark at this stage with price to book under 1 and horrible sentiment risks are to the upside, not downside. I would agree. Yeah. So nicely done there. When is the money printing? Don't know. We will see what the Fed does. Let's see. I bought really cheap and they consolidated the shares. Oh, okay. That's when they did the reverse split, right? When you got 10 for 1 or something like that. Yeah, that'll hurt. All right, question: will IREN report best profit for 1Q due to not using FSB and the associated loss the holders have? Yes, they should have the best EPS probably. Also, their low cost to mine, will it matter to the share price? Now, I would think it would, but the market may not. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. They had good Q4 results. Stock went up a little bit and then came back down, but that's because of the market where it was going. So we need the market to turn around to go more positive, more bullish. We need Bitcoin to go more bullish and go up. I think those would be the catalyst that drives the stocks up more. But yeah, I think IREN should have like the best numbers right now for it. But we shall see. All right. Next one here. I know you don't cover Wolf anymore, but if you had to guess, why do you think they are down more than the other miners? The reason I think Wolf, one, well, they stopped providing monthly updates, but I don't think that's the main reason why it's down. I think it's mainly because of, one, they had a huge run up there at the end of last year, and then for HPCI reasons, they got the contract there. We know what the contract is, and now we've seen that the HPCI miners are getting beaten down more than like the regular miners like Cleanspark, Mara, even Riot to a certain extent, being more pure plays at that point. Okay, sounds like my family's back from an outing. And my dog's going crazy. Let's see. Question: MicroStrategy better than IBIT? I think it is. Yeah, I would say it might be better. Okay. Given the miners started this cycle underperforming MicroStrategy, is it too late to rotate into MSTX to make up the losses with some leverage gains? That's up to you, right? If MicroStrategy continues to perform as well as it has in the last year and a half, I would say, then it might be a good play. But maybe the miners outperform it. I don't know. Some of the miners at least. We'll have to wait and see where we end up by the end of the year. I think that'll be a good tell as far as can the miners still do a sizable increase, 3, 4, 5x, whatever it is, compared to Bitcoin. We'll see. All right. Let me see. Fish says too quiet. Yeah, probably talk a little too not loud enough. All right. Let's see. Daniel says, Seb, hope your channel does not blow up so we can keep doing these Q&As. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I like the smaller community, but even if it blows up, we'll still do these. Maybe we'll cut it off at a certain amount of time, but we still do this. Yeah, can you talk louder, closer to the mic? I'll try to maybe increase the output a little bit here for you. See how that works, but depending on what you're watching it onto, if it's watching on a smartphone or tablet, or if you're watching on TV, depending on what you're watching it, some people have said that the noise or the volume is a little low. Let's see here. No more money printing, no moves this year. Yep. Love Guru says sound is okay. Okay, so we're good. All right, everyone. I cut up to all your guys' questions here. We're going on about a half an hour here as it is. So I think we're going to call it a day. We'll see where we end up later on this week. Tomorrow's Monday. We're going to start getting some Q1 results. I saw Hut 8 already provide a date for it. Coming out, when is it? May 5th, May 4th? I can't remember exactly when. But so we're going to start seeing those come out as well. We'll see how the miners did for Q1. I'm expecting a lot of the miners that had HODL position on the FSB rules, they're going to get kicked in the butt because of it. It's nice for the upside, but it's also not great for the downside. Other miners, we'll have to wait and see how they do based on their actual operations. I'm expecting IREN to be positive. Cleanspark without the FSB, I think is going to be slightly positive, maybe. Mars going to be tough. Riot's going to be tough to get positive as well. But we'll see. If not, including everything else. Let's see. One last thing here. Neutrino says, heard that M2 will be pumping in May. M2 is already pumping, but we were delayed on compared to Bitcoin. So if that's the case, Bitcoin should pump into May. But we'll see. All right. But that is it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow's going to be a green day for the miners and the markets overall. We'll see where we end up at that point. But thank you so much for coming in, and as always, love you all. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful week. And then I think we got Good Friday on Friday, which I think is going to be market close. So we'll see what we do on that day. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then,